Now let's look at the next question, which asks you which somatic reflex does the seventh nerve participate in? Now, certain important things to remember is that somatic reflexes always involve skeletal muscle. So they always involve skeletal muscle. So let's look at all the reflexes which have been given here. So we have the salivatory reflex, which means salivation from the salivary gland. So this is a gland. Glands always are autonomic reflexes. So this is autonomic reflexes. Lacrimatory reflex again is through the lacrimal gland. So again, it's autonomic. Let's look at the corneal reflex. The corneal reflex is one where you take a wisp of cotton and you touch the cornea and the person blinks. So the blinking is done because of orbicularis oculi muscle, which is a skeletal muscle, and this muscle is a muscle of facial expression, so it is innervated by the seventh cranial nerve. So you can see here it's very important to remember some of your muscular system also. So as we see here, it is a skeletal muscle supplied by the seventh cranial nerve, and that's what we need to know. Somatic reflex, we said, was skeletal muscle, and we wanted to know which one the seventh nerve participates in. So it was the corneal reflex is the answer to the question. But let's look at the other choices. So we have pupillary dilation and pupillary constriction. Both these are due to the smooth muscle present in the iris. The dilation is due to the sympathetic nervous system. So again, it's an autonomic reflex. So let me write that again. This is smooth muscle due to the sympathetic nervous system. Again, autonomic reflex. It's called dilator pupillae. Constriction is again constrictor pupillae, which is a smooth muscle, and this is due to the parasympathetic nervous system. So again, is an autonomic reflex. So the only reflex which involves skeletal muscle is corneal, and it so happens that the seventh nerve participates in it. And just to show you an image, so this is taken from your from the slides from your PowerPoint, and here you can see that this is the corneal reflex, which involves the orbicularis oculi muscle. So you can see the afferent fiber, so irritation over the cornea, or even the same thing could be true of conjunctival reflex. So they are both somatic reflexes. So if it's either the cornea or the conjunctiva is irritated, this area is supplied by the fifth cranial nerve. The afferent fibers go to the fifth nerve nucleus. An interneuron connects it to the seventh nerve. And the efferent fibers, which is motor fibers, go to the orbicularis oculi muscle and stimulate it, and it constricts and you close your eye. So this is blinking. And just to show you the lacrimatory reflex, if you look at this, so this is autonomic. And here again, you can see both fifth and seventh are participating in this. And you can see, but then this is an autonomic reflex because it involves glandular secretion. So you can see, because it's going to the lacrimal gland. You look at this way. So we can see that the fifth cranial nerve and the seventh cranial nerve are involved in both autonomic and in somatic reflexes. The autonomic reflexes are, one example is the lacrimatory reflex. In some instances, it's also salivatory. Not always. The fifth is not always involved in every salivatory reflex, but it is involved in some. So you can put both lacrimatory and salivatory for fifth and seventh. So those will be the autonomic. And the somatic will be, like I showed you earlier, the somatic will be the corneal or the conjunctival. So notice up here, corneal and conjunctival, you see both nerves. So therefore, the answer to this question was the corneal reflex. Now let's look at this next question, which asks you, in which of these areas would nerve cell bodies be absent? So let's identify the areas. A, which is the outer rim of the cerebral hemispheres, is known as the cerebral cortex, or is also called gray matter. B is a nucleus, which you see, this nucleus is known as the thalamus. And so it's a nucleus. You don't really need to know the names of these nuclei, but this is a nucleus, also called the thalamus. These are the other nuclei. This one here is another nucleus. I'm going to highlight it. That's called the caudate nucleus, and this here is called the lentiform. So these are all nuclei. So that's what B is. And C, which points to this area, so this area is white matter. Now, in A, the cortex or gray matter, you have nerve cell bodies. That means the cell bodies of a neuron are present, as also in the nuclei. So in the nuclei also you have nerve cell bodies. Whereas in the white matter, which is this area, all this lighter staining area, you have only processes or axons and dendrites. So you have only the processes present. So some small dendrite, but mainly axons. So that's called white matter. So therefore, in A, which is the cortex, nerve cell bodies would be present. So that's not a choice. In B also, they would be present. So that's not a choice. C is where nerve cell bodies would be absent. So C is a choice. Obviously, A and C and B and C and A and B, these wouldn't be choices. So the correct answer to this question is C. And just to show you the same thing in the spinal cord, if you'll notice that the gray matter in the spinal cord is now on the inside. So you see, this is all the gray matter, and this area is the white matter. So the nerve cell bodies would, and these little things here look like they appear to be nuclei, but actually these are called tracts, and you will learn more about them in the spinal cord. These are also just collections of axons, which are known as tracts. So in the spinal cord, the nerve cell bodies are present in this butterfly shaped area over here, and they are absent in all of the white matter which surrounds it on the periphery. All of this light colored, this blue area, and also this red area. So I wanted to show you this in both the spinal cord and in the brain, where you would have nerve cell bodies and where you would just have axons.